Students, today we can see the topic population. Very rarely we can see an organism living in isolation, isn't it? Almost all the organisms live in groups. That is, they form population. So what is a population? Organisms which live in a well-defined geographical area, which share or compete for the similar resources and can interbreed among themselves constitute a population. Okay, organisms which live in a well-defined geographical area, which share or compete for the similar resources and potential interbreed among themselves are said to be a population. Another definition is also there, that is, population is defined as the total number of individuals of a species in a specific geographical area which can interbreed under natural conditions to produce fertile offsprings and functions as a unit of biotic community. Okay, normally the organisms which belong to the same species will be forming the population, isn't it? So they interbreed among themselves. That means they can reproduce among themselves. So interbreed is a term which is related with the sexual reproduction. Okay, so we may think that only the organism which reproduce sexually will form a population. Then what about the asexually reproducing organism? Even the asexually reproducing organism can also be considered as a population, especially for the purpose of ecological studies. Okay, so whether it is asexually or sexually reproducing, they can form a population. Okay, so examples when we see, we can say cormorants in a wetland. See the picture what you are seeing is the cormorants in a wetland. So it is the population of cormorants, or rats in an abandoned dwelling, that is where we are not inhabiting. In such a building, sometimes the rat will be living and they use it as a dwelling place. Dwelling place means the place where they live, and they will be reproducing there. Okay, so that forms a rat population. Then teakwood trees in a forest tract, or bacteria in a culture plate, lotus plants in a pond. These are some of the example. Or even we can say the elephant population. Okay, so these are all examples of a population. See, we have seen that whenever we consider as an individual organism, the individual organism should be capable of coping with the changing environment. Then only the organism can survive, isn't it? On the other hand, instead of individual organism, if we consider a population, we can say that the natural selection will be operating in the population, and the organisms which are having the desired traits will be able to survive, and the others which are not having the desired traits will be slowly eliminated from the population. Okay, so when we consider an individual organism, we say that that organism has to adjust with the environment. Okay, when the environment is changing, if that organism is capable of adjusting with that changing environment or adapting themselves to the changing environment, that organism will be able to survive, isn't it? On the other hand, when we talk about a population, we can say natural selection will be operating in a population. And you might have studied in the earlier chapters, in the evolution chapter, that in natural selection, the nature will be selecting the fittest organism to survive. What do you mean by that, fittest organism? The organism which is having the desired traits will be selected by the nature, and they will be surviving. That means the organisms which are having the desired traits, desired character, will be capable of adapting themselves to the changing environment, and then they will be surviving there. And what about the other organisms which are not having the desired traits? They may not be able to cope up with the changing environmental conditions, and slowly they will be eliminated. That is what we say it as natural selection, or nature will be selecting the fittest organism to survive, and it eliminates the unfit organism. Okay, now related to this is the population ecology. Actually, it links ecology to population genetics and evolution. Population ecology links ecology to population genetics and evolution. Next is the population attributes. What is that attributes? It is the quality or the features of a population. That is what we say it as population attributes. A population has certain attributes, and the individual organism does not have such attributes. Okay, the population is having certain attributes, whereas an individual organism does not have such attributes. Okay, so what features are there in a population which the individual is not having? First, if we take the individual, when we consider, we can say a birth of an individual, or death of an individual, isn't it? But when we consider a population, we can say not birth of an individual, we say it as a birth rate and death rate. Okay, so when an individual is considered, we can say birth and death. That is, an individual is given birth, or an individual has died, death occurred, isn't it? But when we consider a population, we say as what? A birth rate and death rate. Okay, so in a population, this rate refers to per capita birth and the death. So what is birth rate? The number of birth per 1,000 individuals of a population per year. Per capita means in a particular period, isn't it? Per year, number of births per 1,000 individuals of a population per year is said to be as birth rate. Another term for birth rate is natality rate. Okay, then what is death rate? It is just opposite to the birth rate, isn't it? It is the number of deaths per 1,000 individuals of a population per year. The number of deaths per 1,000 individuals of a population per year is said to be as death rate. We can also say it as a mortality rate. Okay. Now, when we see an example for this, if in a pond, you consider in a pond there are 20 lotus plants last year. Okay, there are 20 lotus plant in a pond last year, and 8 new plants were added to the pond by reproduction. As a result of reproduction, 8 new plants were added. So now the current population is 28, isn't it? Now how to calculate the birth rate? Birth rate is equal to 8 by 20. That is the number of individuals added divided by the actual number of individuals present, the total number of individuals present. So what is the number of individuals added? It is 8. What is the total number of individuals present last year? 20. Okay, now it is 28, but we want to calculate the not the total individuals but the birth rate, isn't it? So we have to divide the number of individuals added to the population divided by the total number of individuals present at that particular time. So it is 8 divided by 20, we will get 0.4. Okay, so the birth rate is 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. Okay, 0.4 offspring per lotus per year. So this is the birth rate of this lotus plant. Okay, in that pond. Same way, death rate also we can calculate. How to calculate the death rate? Similar manner. Suppose we can assume that there are 40 fruit flies okay, present in a population, and in that 40 fruit flies, 4 fruit flies died in a week. Okay, so in a week, four individual means four fruit flies died, and total fruit flies which were present were 40 fruit flies were there in a population, and four of them died in a week. Now how to calculate the death rate? So now the total population, we can say 40 minus 4, that is 36, isn't it? But we are not calculating the total number. We want to calculate what? The death rate. So when we calculate the death rate, again the number of individuals died divided by the total number of individuals. That means 4 divided by 40 is equal to 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. Here it is, in a week it is given. So 0.1 individuals per fruit fly per week. This is how we can calculate the birth rate and death rate in a population. Okay, so the population is having the attribute like birth rate and death rate, which is not there in a individual will be only showing birth or death. Okay, another attribute of population is sex ratio. An individual, we can say, either is a male or a female, isn't it? By seeing the individual, we can say it is a male or a female. But in a population, we can say it as the sex ratio. That is, the number of females in a population per 1,000 males is said to be a sex ratio. So what is sex ratio? The number of females in a population per 1,000 males is called a sex ratio. That is, for example, 60% of the population are females and 40% is male. Or we can say in 2011 census, the sex ratio of Haryana was 877 female is to 1000 male. Okay, so this is what we say it as a sex ratio. The number of females is to the number of males. Okay. Another attribute is age distribution. See, when we consider a single individual, we say the age of the person is this much, isn't it? 20 years old. He is 20 years old, or she is 25 years old. Like that, the age of the individual can be mentioned, isn't it? But when we take a population, we have to see the age distribution. What is age distribution? The relative percentage of the organisms of various age groups in the population is called the age distribution of the population. The relative percentage of the organisms of various age groups in the population is called the age distribution. So when we see a population at any given time, it will be composed of individuals of different ages, isn't it? Always we cannot say only all the individuals will be having a particular age. They belong to different age groups. Okay, and we can get an age pyramid when we plot the age distribution for that population. Okay, so when the age distribution is plotted for the population, the resulting structure is said to be as age pyramid. Okay, the for human population, if we see, for example, the age pyramids generally show age distribution of males and females in a diagram. Okay, diagrammatic representation we can show it, and the shape of the pyramid will be reflecting the growth status of the population. Okay, the growth status of the population can be shown by the pyramids. If you see here this age pyramid, so three pyramids are given. One is expanding, another is stable, and another is declining, isn't it? So by seeing the pyramid, it reflects, it tells us what is the status of the population. That is, whether it is a growing population, whether it is a stable population, or whether it is a declining population. If it is a growing population, the birth rate will be more than that of the death rate, isn't it? See the first diagram, if you see, first age pyramid, if you see, the people at a pre-reproductive age group is more when compared to the post-reproductive. age group, isn't it? So pre-reproductive means so many individuals are there who are next going to become reproductive age group, and so they are capable of increasing the population, isn't it? So that can lead to a expanding population. So when the pre-reproductive age group and the reproductive age group are more than that of the post reproductive age group, then the population will be growing or expanding population. Okay, now if you see the second one, that is the stable population. Why we say it as stable population? Here both the pre-reproductive age group and the reproductive age group are similar. Their number is similar. That means they are not going to increase the population, because as they are similar in size, the population will not be increasing, or it cannot decline also. It can remain the stable. Okay. Next is what? Declining population. So in declining population, if you see, we can see the pre-reproductive age group peoples are very less when compared to the reproductive age group, isn't it? That means less number of young people are there, so that they can produce only less number of individuals, so that the population cannot increase much. Okay, so here we can say the birth rate will be low when compared to that of the death rate. Okay, then we can consider this as a declining population. Okay, now this size of the population tells us about the status, about its status in the habitat. Okay, if we want to investigate any ecological processes in a population, just like the outcome of competition with another species, or the impact of a predator, or the effect of pesticide application, we always evaluate in terms of any change in the population size. Okay, so if you want to investigate any ecological processes like the outcome of competition with other species, or impact of predator, or the effect of pesticide, always it will be evaluated in terms of any change in the population size. Okay, that is, for example, the size of the population may be as low as less than 10 Siberian cranes in Bharatpur wetland a year. Okay, or it can even go to millions of chlamydomonas in a pond. This shows the population size. So what is population size? Population size indicates the total number of organisms of a specific species present in a specific geographical area at a specific time. Okay, so what is population size? It indicates the total number of organisms of a specific species present in a specific geographical area at a specific time. This is what we say it as population size. Okay. This population size is technically called as population density. So what is population density? It is the number of individuals of a species per unit area or volume. Okay, the number of individuals of a species per unit area or volume is said to be as population density. And this population density is generally designated as N. Okay, it is represented by the alphabet N. So what is population density? It is the number of individuals of a population per unit area or a volume in a given time, isn't it? And always it is not necessary that population density should be measured in numbers only. Okay. So what are the methods by which we can calculate the population density? One, as you all know, it is based on the number of individuals. Okay. By counting the number of individuals present, we can calculate the population density. Okay, now always it may not be appropriate measure to calculate the population density. For example, see if in an area there are 200 Parthenium plants and only one huge banyan tree is there. Okay, now whether counting the number of banyan tree and that Parthenium will give us the population density, it becomes meaningless, isn't it? Because the banyan tree is single, but it will be extending to a very large area. It is having a large canopy, isn't it? But the number is very low. That is only one banyan tree is there. But Parthenium, 200 are there. Parthenium, you can see here the plant Parthenium. This plant is the Parthenium plant. So it is small in size. Okay, but 200 is there. So if we count the number and if we calculate the population density, it will become meaningless. So in such cases, how to find out the population size, how to measure the population size or the population density? Here, percent cover or biomass can be a better method. So what is it? The percent cover or biomass can be a meaningful measure of population size. So one we have seen the number. Another is percent cover or biomass. Biomass means what? The organic matter, the living matter which is present in the body of that organism, that is the plant. Here we are talking about the plant, isn't it? So it is the amount of living matter present in the plant, that is Parthenium or the banyan tree. Okay, based on that we can we can measure the population size. Okay. Now, suppose if the population is very huge and counting is it is not possible, it is impossible, counting is impossible, or it takes much time for counting. Okay, if it is a time consuming process, then how to calculate, how to find out the population size or the population density? For example, if you are taking the fish population in the ocean, or if we want to count the number of bacteria present in a petri dish, is it possible to count each and every organism in that? It is impossible, isn't it? So in such cases we can say relative population density can be done. Okay, there is no need to know the absolute population density. Relative densities will be serving this process, this purpose. Okay, for example, we can say the fish caught per trap. Okay, that will give the population density of fish in a lake. Okay, the number of fish caught per trap will give the measure of the population density in the lake. Okay. Then another is without seeing the organism, also we can find out the population density or the population size. That method we can say it as indirect. What is indirect method of population density? Here, without seeing the organism, we are counting them. Okay, that's why we say it as indirectly the population size can be calculated, estimated. For example, the tiger census in our national park or a tiger reserve can be calculated based on the pug marks and the fecal pellets. Okay, so how can we calculate the tiger or in the national park or in the tiger reserves? Just by counting the pug marks and the fecal pellets. Fecal pellets is the undigested waste. Pug marks means their leg when they keep, you can see the impression of that on the soil, isn't it? So that is the pug mark. So based on that we calculate the population density or population size of the tiger in a tiger reserve. Okay, so these are the different methods of calculating the population size or the population density. So what are they? One is by counting the number, second is percent cover or biomass, third is relative density, and fourth is indirect estimation of population density. Okay.